morning, Bears. What is happening? It is a fine Friday morning here this November 23rd. I hope everybody's seeing me because it's telling me that my data flow into the YouTube is red, which is usually a bad sign. And I'm hoping that that sign isn't as bad as it seems. So hopefully everybody's getting the show this morning. Well, that's good. I was having a little chat with some of y'all before we started. Apparently I forgot what time Dom was on this morning. I was looking forward to it, but forgot what time he said he was going to go. So I sort of stepped on Dom's stream unintentionally here. But Dom was gracious enough to say, no, you go. No, you go. It's okay. I just felt like kind of a boob for not coordinating that a little bit better. But, you know, Dom bowed to my my greater interest quality as a streamer. It's like, well, that's kind of you. I don't know how to take that. I'm like, I don't know. I'm a jabberer. I can go on for long periods of time. I think Dom's quite talented at quite a number of things that I'm not. One of them would be getting stuff done, and he's all about that. If you haven't watched Dom's, excuse me, I'm so eloquent over here. If you haven't gone to Dom's Instagram feed, you should definitely check that out. He's always posting memes and stuff about, you know, just be a beast, get stuff done, be awesome at whatever it is you're doing, motivational type stuff. He's a good cat, and he's got his Freedom Tough stuff and his hang on, I'm going to say it wrong. The Young and the Wrenchless gear. In fact, if you go look in the bear support section of the description over at teespring.com/the-young-and-the-wrenchless. Just wanted to say that. It was fun. You'll find some Dom gear, but he's also got some Freedom Tough gear out there somewhere, or he may again in the future. I'm not sure. So I'm excited about that. I'd like to dig into that. You got a narc shirt too. Yeah. That's hilarious, man. There you go. Yeah, pop those links up for sure. Get people to know about the Dom stuff. That's important. So, yeah. I'm going to not stream forever today, and maybe Dom can still get a stream going for him. I'd love to see Dom get up there and stream. It would be a good thing. It would be useful. So, support the Dom. Don't forget to support Kodiak. Kodiak not only has his Patreon, but he also has raglan tees and hoodies out there that are pretty awesome. They're Unbearables ones, and they're being sold to support the Kodiaks, the Kodiak family. Good folks. And yeah, definitely want to see them squared away. He's getting to go see, or did he already go see an Owen show? Because that's awesome if he did. I think he's going to the Phoenix one. Or he did go to the Phoenix one. I don't recall which. I forget. But I bet it was awesome. I've been out of the loop for a while, guys. I'm trying to remember what's been going on. So that's what's up. I'm ing quite a bit today. It's an morning. So in the description, here's what I talked about. I have a drum set. And it's my main gigging kit. It was gifted to me by the pastor of a church that I'm connected with in the area. He recently opened this up in the South End, and they had a drum kit just sitting, like an old drum kit sitting in the garage of this church. And, you know, he talked to a friend of his, showed him some pictures, and that friend was like, well, maybe you should ask Aaron if he'd use that. Because I was just getting ready to sell another kit of mine that I needed to get rid of. It was just time to do that. And I was going to kind of go for a period of time without a full kit, and I was cool with that. I was fine with that. But, yeah, as I made that decision, this was gifted to my doorstep here. It's amazing. This is a Pearl Export. It's huge. Pearl Export, mid-1990s bass drum from a fusion size kit. That means it's got slightly smaller sizes, and it can work between both jazz and rock, pop stuff, whatever you want. And it's nice because this is a 20-inch bass drum, a 20-inch diameter. So that means from, like, say, from this inside the rim of the drum all the way to the other inside the rim of the drum down here, it's 20-inch diameter, right? It's not from outside the hoop to the other outside the hoop. It's inside the hoop, like the bearing edge, one bearing edge to another directly across. So that's 20-inch diameter drum. It's pretty awesome. 20-inch sizes are super cool. I'm a big fan. They're also, the shell of the drum is also 16 inches deep. So from the tip of the shell, not this thing here. This actually makes it closer to like 22 or 18 with the hoops on it. But minus the hoops, if you start right at the say like right here, this silver thing is the lip of the drum head. If you start there and go to the other lip of the other drum head, it's about right to 20 inches, where you're really going from the edge or the bearing edge of the shell to the other bearing edge. So the depth of the shell is 20 or 16 inches. I'm getting that wrong. So it's got a decent amount of depth, not too much. Excuse me. Nose is a little bugging me. Oh, excuse me. Pardon. All right, so it has that red wrap shell covering on it, right? Pardon me. House was really dry last night. Yeah, not cocaine. Dry house. Yeah, just got my sinuses going this morning. They're settled down considerably from what they were when I woke up. But you kind of see my eyes are a little funky-doo there. Funky-doo. That's phrases that I come up with. So all the drums, there's 3 tom-toms in this kit and a bass drum. And what I decided to do, I'd been wanting to for a while, was to take the red wrap finish off. That means I have to take all the metal fixtures and the drum heads and the hoops and all that stuff off and just leave the bare shell with the wrap finish on it. And then I have to work it off so that it ends up looking like this. Nice wood grain finish, nice and smooth. And what I'm eventually going to do too is add some wood stain to it. Nice polyurethane stain or something like that. You can see a little bit here, these markings that are here. It's a little darker on this strip. That's where glue was that held the wrap finish in place. That's the one spot where it was glued down. And it was just wrapped all the way, the rest of the way around. And again, there may have been some glue at some points in the past, but it's worn down. It was very minimal. And then I had to take all these little fixtures, all this stuff off. The only kind of tricky part was there's a vent hole. When you play a drum, it moves the air around inside of it. So if there's no way for air to escape, then it doesn't really function the way it should. So there's a vent hole here, and this little grommet that goes into the vent hole, I had to kind of rip the finish off of around that, hopefully without damaging it too much. But I'm left with this nice, neat little wood shell, and it's so much more resonant this way. Let's see here. Good stick. Want to help me show that off? Ooh. So there's a screw buzzing from the mount here. I'm going to tighten that down. You can hear how it's like resounds for a while after I hit that. So nice. I love it. So that's the 10-inch tom-tom, the smallest of the tom-toms in the set. And then I've got my 12-inch. This is your typical rack tom, your high tom. Ooh. Probably need to do a little more tuning on it, but not too much. It's nice, clear tone. And the wood grain finish on this is pretty nice, too. I still want to stain it, but it's awesome. You know, really, it just took some work to get that all squared away. And I did even less damage to the vent hole on this one than I did on the last one. The other one, I kind of flattened it out a little bit. Yeah, it's a nice little 12-inch. I think it's I think it's 8 inches deep. It's either 8 or 9. I want to say it's 8. It's a nice little tiny fusion size. I think I'm only dealing with an 8-inch deep tom. No, that's probably 9, isn't it? I don't have a measuring tape handy, otherwise I'd check it. I had one right here at the table. I must have brought it upstairs. At any rate, so then the pièce de résistance, my floor tom. This is a big drum. This is a 14 by, I'm going to say 12 inch. Yeah, maybe 14. It might actually be a 14-inch deep. These sticks are like 16. And so if I'm putting it up there and I've got that much shell left, this is probably a 14 by 14 floor tom, which is awesome because it's a 14-inch diameter, but then the depth is also 14, so you're going to get massive sound. Oh, that's just a cannon. Such a good drum. I love this thing. Such a good drum. I've had so many compliments from drummers that I look up to about that floor tom in this area, right? Like, dude, that floor tom's ridiculous. And I'm like, I don't know how that's possible because this is a, sorry, I'm just moving something over so I can move my mic a little bit. This is one of the more well-known student entry-level kits. Maybe student like entry to intermediate level sets, the Pearl Export, and it's been one of the top selling drum kits for like 30 years. I mean, it's an amazing set. They made them really nice in the 90s. The woods that they used were really cool, and I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not, but you can see inside here. There's a drum shell, right? There's various plies of wood that are laminated together to create this shell. I showed you my snare drum before. That's 18 plies of wood, right? The tom-toms, typically you'll have toms be around like between 5 to 8 plies at most, you know, and this one's a good, all 3 of those toms are 6 ply. So 6 different plies of wood, probably a combination of birch and poplar. And I want to say there's, I don't remember what else is in there. It's not like expensive woods. It's fairly cheap stuff. But, excuse me, the way they did the process, I guess, in the 90s, it just sounds really good. They're really good. Their resonance is not too much and it's not too little. Like, I do sometimes feel like the decay rate on those drums cuts off a little sooner than I'd like. Like when I hit a tom and it resonates, when you're in the mix of the music, you know, playing with a group, sometimes you want that decay to sustain for a little while longer before it cuts out. It doesn't do that entirely for me. So it does give a lot more than it would if it was just, how would I say that? If I didn't do any work to it, if I just played it as I found it when it was in the garage, then it'd probably be like boom, boom, boom. People like to put like duct tape and moon gels and all kinds of stuff. And I've used all that before. They'll put like paper towels and duct tape it to the top of the drum head. Or sometimes they'll use these mylar, like rings that they'll put on top of their drum head, and it sits around the outer edge of the head, and it just dampens the overtones and things like that. So people find all sorts of ways to choke the sound of their drums. I really don't enjoy doing that. I prefer to tune it well and get the true sound out of that drum, like the best tone you can get out of the tom drums and all the rest of my kit. I try not to put dampening on any of it except my snare, and I only do that when it would make the sound of the snare fit the song better. But I like to go without dampening of any kind on all of my drums. Now, my bass drum is an exception. A lot of people will put pillows and stuff inside of their drums, or their bass drums, I should say, to really give it that thud kick sound. I don't do that anymore. I really don't enjoy doing that. As you can see, sort of here, that drum is empty. You can see right inside. There's nothing else in there except drum. I have a front hole. There's a hole on the inside. You can see. Ah! I don't know why I did that, but it was fun for me. So I don't have anything inside the drum to dampen it, but I do have this foam ring that sits inside of a little tray, and this tray goes all the way around the drum head. It's from Evans brand heads, and it's called an EMAD. I know this is all technically stuff, guys, and I'm getting to a bigger point with it, so bear with me. But it's just, this is what I do. This is what I get into, and this is what makes it... Moomin. It's so bad, man. I love it. Okay, the other thing that I've got on here is this little patch. It's called an impact patch. And I put it on the bass drum. It actually expands the life of the head a little bit, because when I have that bass drum pedal hit the drum, instead of hitting the head directly, it's hitting this patch. So it just softens the blow, and it actually gives me a bass drum tone that I like better with that patch there. It's not quite as punchy. I can make it pretty punchy, but this I don't know, just mellows it a little bit, and I like that. So that's my drums. I've still got to finish doing the bass drum. Not quite there yet. But what I've accomplished in doing this is these drums look beautiful now. I mean, that's amazing. That's incredible. And it's not an expensive set. I got it for free. Normally they would have sold for maybe like $400 or something back in the day. For maybe $5 at most. And that's low. That's the student model stuff. That's the old school student model stuff from the mid-90s. And the sizes are awesome. I'm so psyched that I have these sizes, because they're not too heavy. They're not too obnoxiously big. And they give me the sound that I need. That floor tom is unbelievable. People think that's a 16 or 18-inch floor tom. 16-inch floor toms sound like that. That's a 14-inch floor tom. That's insane. A ton of tone out of that thing. So deep and massive. A buddy of mine would be laughing at me for saying that. So let's see here. It took a lot of effort and work to get all that wrap finish off, and it's going to take even more work to get the nice wood grain finish brought out with some staining. You know, there's natural beauty in the drum shells themselves. A ton of it. There's even more natural beauty in the tone of the drums, because without that plastic wrap finish, the wood is free to resonate even more. And it's just going to make the overall tone of the drums, I think, better. Possibly a little drier. I think right now without the stain, I think they'll be a little drier. Just because we have drier air, you know, with it being winter and everything. So I probably need to humidify the house a little bit, and that'll help take care of that. But you can tell some of those subtleties when you've been playing drums for close to 25 years. You start picking up on things like that. With any instrument, you start noticing subtle details. So it's interesting to me that in order for the natural beauty of this instrument to be seen and heard better, you don't just let it do whatever. You don't just sit it there and boom, the natural beauty, there you go. No, it takes specific work. It takes specific efforts to draw that out of these instruments. I sat there for about 3 hours last night working on this. And I before I started the show this morning, I wanted to go ahead and finish up this floor tom. I wasn't quite done putting it back together after I'd taken the wrap finish off. Excuse me. And I wanted to get the heads back on. And it only took me a little bit more time, but all in all, I probably spent about 3 hours, 3.5 hours working on these, right? So that's just the beginning. That's just getting going with these, right? The next stage down the line is going to be staining. And probably a little bit of sanding to get the glue stuff off of the shells. I'd like to get rid of that a little bit. You know, you guys want some drumming, right? I will have to do that. I think next week I'm probably going to have everything set up. Maybe even this weekend I might get a little clip set up or something like that and give you guys some drumming. Because I want to put some actual... Hey, Legionary. Welcome. Glad you could join us. Oh, it was itches like crazy. It's that reaction to the winter air, I think. So... it started me thinking as I was taking these apart and putting them back together. it started me thinking that we're not too dissimilar. We have natural beauty within us. We have the ability within our person. I mean, you could say physically, you could say emotionally, you know, you could say mentally, whatever it is that's within us. You have the capacity to display beauty because within you is beauty. Without you is beauty. But to truly display those things takes effort. To just say, here I am, take me as I am, the way I am, and I'm just going to stay that way. You know, I'm not going to put any work into it. You're just going to take this, right? Is there beauty there to see? Sure. Were these drums excellent and wonderful? Did they serve a great purpose the way they were? Yeah, they totally did. The Pearl Company knows how to make good quality drums, and even these drums, after more than 20 years from their making, sounded fantastic. Legionary, in case you missed it. So I do have this bass drum that's part of this drum kit, and it does have a very large front hole on it. And of course, Moomin had to make mention of that. So thanks, Moomin. The high spiritual plane that I was taking this podcast to. Leave it to a bear. I love you guys. It's so funny. So ridiculous. Yeah, I was working through all these drums and just showing them off, Legionary. That they all had that red finish, like that one drum I was looking at. And now they look like this. But it didn't just happen. I had to sit there and put effort into it. Even the Pearl people, to create these, it took several different folks to take this piece of tree, or these several pieces of tree, and turn them into laminate and like veneers that they laminate together, and then press them and shape them and put the bearing edges on them, get the hardware machined for it, get it all set up so that it's a functional instrument. It's so funny that the vast majority of what drumming involves, gear-wise, is the stuff that holds your instrument up, right? The majority of the instrument is the wood shell and the drum head, right? But then there's all this metal hardware on there to pull the drum head and tighten it against the bearing edge of the shell so you get that sound. The legs that you have to put on a floor tom to suspend it up in the air so that it resounds properly. Same with the rack toms. They have to be put on a mounting post or something so that it holds it up and you can play it. You know, usually it's on top of their bass drum, or it's off to the side on a tom stand or something like that. Your cymbals, right? The instrument is the cymbal itself, and then the majority of what you've got there is the cymbal stands, right? The stuff that holds it up. The hi-hat stand. And the hi-hat stand's integral in the instrument because you have to make the hi-hat cymbals go up and down at certain times, right? You have to have a hi-hat stand that's well-oiled, well-functioning, so that it can allow you to play those instruments, right? So that the equipment that holds it up becomes a big part of the instrument. It's so funny. Some great drummers that I've seen, like Max Roach, one of my favorites from back in the day, a long time ago. He's one of the pioneers of jazz drumming. Hang on, I'm getting caught on stuff here. What is that? Hang on one second. Something's weird. I just saw a big red light in my bag, and I didn't know what the heck that was from. Oh, I know what that's from. I have a red light attached to my bag. That's what that is. I'd forgotten that I had that. Yeah, that was throwing me off. So, I just had to fix that. Sorry. It's the most professional show you've ever seen, right? So, in order for this instrument to even be playable, it takes so much effort and work to create all these other support parts that are integral to the instrument. It takes a ton of work to make a thing of beauty like this. We are things of beauty. We have it within us. We have it externally, right? But we can turn that beauty to gach very easily, right? That's gach. No offense to Joe Guck, by the way, out there, Owen's buddy. That wasn't meant to be a slur against him. It was just the tone I chose for that. But you need to be willing to put in effort every day to making yourself beautiful, to maintaining beauty inside and out, because beauty, I think, is akin to order. Beauty is akin to organization. Now, a mess can be beautiful, but it's funny. How do we define beauty? How do we define something that's lovely that we want to continue to gaze at? Do most of us really want to continue to gaze at a heap of garbage? It has smells. It has, view to it it's got a message to communicate in it. And that, I think, the message, the information that's there can be beautiful. The reminder that, that's smelly garbage, and it came from somewhere. It wasn't always that way, but in that state, it's not really serving a purpose anymore, right? And when something can't serve a purpose or refuses to serve a purpose anymore, it's not as, or the purpose it's intended for, then it's not exactly something we want to keep around us. That's not usually the way we work. We don't want to keep I'm going to get a little gross, but not entirely, just real, I guess. We don't want to keep our bodily waste around. That's why we have toilets and we, do our business and we flush and it goes away. We don't keep that around. We don't consider that beautiful. It served its purpose. It was food. It was sustenance. It was something. Maybe it was something that wasn't so good for you too. Maybe it was that whole bucket of ice cream or whatever it be. But it was wonderful while we were enjoying it, but it served its purpose. It's gone. We don't need that anymore. It's not in an organized fashion that's functional and beautiful. Now, there are aspects to it that are functional, like your human waste stinks, like it's offensive to our sense of smell. For many people, it develops a gag, or it induces a gag reflex, and that makes us want to retch and not want to be around it, right? So we get it away from ourselves. We remove it. We remove things that don't function, right? That don't serve their purpose, that are no longer beautiful, right? That's what I would suggest to you. Maybe there's a deeper sense to beauty than just how it looks. It's like, I think it's more so about how it functions. But it takes work, it takes effort. If you just accept things however they are and you don't think they need any work, yourself, your kids, and go simpler, the meal that you're going to eat, the house that you live in, aka clean up your room, right? Not to get too JBP wizardy on you, but that was true before there was a JBP. To get all mom and dad on you, how about that, right? Just as interesting to me to think about. Legionary says, I just changed a diaper. That's so funny. Oh, man. Yeah, I've changed several hundred diapers in my day as well. It's probably gone into the thousands. Kids will wear about, 3 diapers a day on average. And probably a few more when they're really young, and then several less when they get older, but at least 3 or 4 a day. Let's say that on average there. And then let's see here. Hey, Blue Sky. Glad you could join us. Glad to see you. I wasn't sure what you meant there, Legionary. BDB going to meet the beavers on us. 4-ish, I think, is per average ATM. What? I don't know what you're talking about with beavers. I'm sure you're meaning something. I wasn't clear on that. But yeah, feel free to state that a little differently. I'm not sure what you meant about the beavers. I'm curious. That's interesting. What am I thinking? What am I saying here? I'm saying something. So we need to take time, I think, every day to look at the stuff that we put work into, put effort into to make it better, and then think about the stuff where we think, well, I just leave that as it is. I can just let that be. I mean, people should just take that for what it is. People should just accept this. People should just accept this behavior from me. People should just accept my words as they are, or the way I talk, the way I do this thing or that thing. Like, people have a problem. That's me. That's just who I am. How much of you is just you, especially when it is a source of contention and upheaval for a lot of people. Now, don't misunderstand me here. I'm not saying that everything that you do just naturally is bad or wrong. That's certainly not true. A lot of us have natural talents, right, that are useful and helpful. However, those talents can be cultivated and grown. Those good qualities don't need to just stay at whatever level they're at. They need to be developed and furthered so they can be of more use to you and others. Hang on. Let's see. Going to meet the Beavers old school show. Clean your room. Okay. And 4-ish diapers a day for my little man at the moment. I neglect typing sometimes. You're fine, man. I wasn't quite sure what that's about. The Beavers old school show. I don't know about that. Clean your room, huh? Huh. I'll have to look that up. I'm not familiar with that. So, oh, Leave It to Beaver. Gotcha. That's what you're talking about. Okay. And I was actually showing my kids some old TV shows like that, like Leave It to Beaver and Andy Griffith and what else were we watching? Old Dennis the Menace, the old black and white Dennis the Menace. Those are fun. Those are kind of fun old school TV. That's interesting. Huh. Yeah, it took me a minute. I wasn't seeing where you were going with that at all. That's flipping cool. I dig that. Well, I haven't had any yet either today. I've had no coffee yet. I need to fix that. I didn't even eat my breakfast yet. My beautiful lady made me oatmeal with blueberries, and I haven't touched it yet. I've been busy working on things. But yeah, that's the gist of what I was getting at. You're not done. You're not okay the way you are. Is there beauty in it? Of course. But I see it continually presented to me that we need to be willing to have the humility that we're not complete the way we are. Completeness, serving purpose more greatly, more functionally. That's beautiful. That's a wonderful thing, because things that serve their purpose lead to people being able to live better, right? When farmers are able to produce food, we live. When people who make like warm clothes get that done more effectively, and you can have something warm to wear when it's cold out, you live. I mean, I think we're a little disconnected sometimes from the simple things in life because of our culture. And I'm not saying we need to go live off in the woods and be hermits and, just a totally unplugged life. Although I'm not saying that's totally a bad idea. There are probably parts of that would be worthwhile. But I think that we sometimes forget that we're only a stone's throw away from survivalist mode at any given time. It wouldn't take much to throw us back into that. The idea that we're going to be able to pop down to the supermarket and pick up a turkey or pick up some green beans or whatever the heck we want, the idea that that's going to be that way forever, I think is a precarious position. I think there's enough things that go on in this world, enough natural disasters. Let's just leave it at that. Like, I'm thinking Steve Crowder used to talk about this. Of course, I'm going to have a Crowder reference in my show because I have always enjoyed that stuff for the last few years, I guess it's been. I learned about Steve's old JPTV videos or PJTV videos like 7 or 8 years ago. It's been maybe even more. But what am I thinking? So he had a thing he was talking about years ago. He would sell the Prepare with Crowder, preparewithcrowder.com. I think it's probably still up. They don't usually do live reads for it at all anymore. But the Prepare with Crowder stuff was just their little site where they can sell the emergency food backpack kind of thing. And it's like, you don't have to be a prepper. You don't have to be like building your crisis garden with your non-genetically modified seed that they sell on the Alex Jones show which that could be very worthwhile as well, right? But we got to goof on it a little bit. Because, crisis garden does sound like a funny thing, especially when you put the Jonesy tone on it. But, the Jonesy tone. But Crowder talked about ice storms that happened in Montreal when he was a lot younger. And they had no power for like 3 or 4 days or something like that. So having emergency stuff on hand is very worthwhile for just natural reasons. Natural disaster possibilities. But I'm thinking even deeper than that. I'm thinking about character. I'm thinking about not accepting yourself as you are, pushing yourself to be better than you were yesterday, constantly making that forward motion. And it's something I talk about all the time on here. It's not a new concept. It's just that it occurred to me that there's beauty behind that. There's beauty in that process of becoming more complete as a person. This stuff is cool to me. Like yesterday's show and today, I had a general idea, and I'm developing that as I talk with you guys. More parts of that are occurring to me as I'm talking. I don't know. It's kind of useful. The process of trying to think about it and talk about it helps me understand it better. So I get a lot out of just doing this stuff with you guys, sharing these things with you, because I think I learn as I talk. I learn as I work through it. Now, over time, I'd probably like to become a little more polished and come here having done a lot of that already. Then we have more time to do other fun stuff in here too. Like I wanted to get a game going today, but I hadn't called Kick. I hadn't prepped up to do that yet. So we'll probably save that for, another time. It'd probably be prudent. Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent. It's my old George H.W. One of their old relatives. That's a weird thing. This is a complete non sequitur to where I was at, but one of the Bush family's relatives from back in the day, as I understand it, was a big student of Hebrew. And I don't know if they were directly related or cousin or what, but I have this Hebrew grammar book from like the 1800s, and it's written by a Bush family member. I don't know how close or cousin or what, but it's interesting stuff. I don't remember where I picked that one up from. Might have been the Holy Language Institute website. It's a place I used to visit back in the day. They had a couple interesting resources, including another one that is pertinent for times like this. Governor William Bradford's journal entries or copies of pages from his journal. He was a huge student of Hebrew. He's all about that. Interesting stuff. But yeah, be that as it may. Maybe that's connected a little bit. I don't know. I won't. That's a reach. But at any rate, so I'm just thinking out loud, which I do a lot of. Thinking next week, I'm going to get this stuff, today, as much as I can, I'm going to get this stuff set up. And I'm going to do a little play-in for you guys. now that the kit's all nice and pretty. I still got to finish up the bass drum, though. It's not quite where I want it. I might actually get this bookshelf set up in a unique way to make it more interesting back here. I kind of sit in front of it, and you can't see a lot of it a lot of times, but you can see some of it. It's still kind of cool. I might sit closer to it, and then you can see more of it. That's a possibility. I'm just thinking it'd be cool to have a neater backdrop back here. Oh. So I hope all of you had wonderful Thanksgiving times. I hope they weren't insane, or as little insane as they could be. Did anybody go anywhere interesting on their Thanksgiving Day celebration? Anybody at all? Any takers? Everybody's just chilling right now. A lot of you are probably listening and doing other things, which is what you ought to be doing. But just curious, yeah, if anybody had any unique moments during their Thanksgiving Day celebration. Tell me, Kodiak, what did you do? Kiki says, nothing interesting, just New Hampshire. That's funny. Kodiak says, I went for an hour-long run hike in the rain. Dude, yes, that's legit. Blue sky. Bueller. Wow. Nobody responded for a long time. Wow. That's my Ben Stein right there. Well, I mean, yes. Ben Stein, you can win my money. Wow. Well, that was an interesting show. He's a unique character. By the way, if you haven't seen it, he has a movie he put out some years ago. It was called Expelled. And he wanted to delve into this idea that the teaching of evolution as the primary means of origin for life on Earth was the dominant teaching throughout universities, and that alternatives to that weren't even given credence, and people were not only shunned but probably expelled from university settings if they were teachers and they decided not to go. They went off the narrative, so to speak. But he delved into that a little bit. I've never actually seen that film all the way through. I've wanted to, but I've never picked it up yet. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and there's a lot of good interviews with some really smart people in that film. It's a neat guy. Let's see here. What did Kodiak says? Was going to make a little video for us of the run in the rain. That would be legit, dude. That's awesome. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll have to see that. That'd be really cool, Kodiak. Oh, cool. More clips from Kodiak. I'll have to check those out. That'll be neat. Let's see. What was I going to say? Dawn and I, we went and took all 3 dogs, and we hiked over at a local park nearby here. We probably went around close to 2 miles. Went in, and there's a bench that's up on a hillside, and it overlooks this big ravine, and then up the other side of the ravine, there's several homes. I don't know what street it is or where that is in town, but they're definitely higher-end homes. Very large homes, and those the one at the end of the street obviously has a view of the whole river, like a big view of the river from where they're at in this area, and overlooks a lot of the forestry here. Just a really, really neat walk that we had. Talked about a lot of things, and it was kind of unpleasant. At some points for my lady, she had an experience I won't go into detail about, but she it sometimes has unpleasant emotions related to being in the woods, especially in the later hours of the day. You know, it's just when it's getting a little darker or something like that, especially in the winter time frame as well. There's just some sullen emotions that are connected with that. And so she was trying to have fun, but some of it wasn't. And we talked about that, and that was good. You know, it was good to work through some of those things. And we were both still able to enjoy our time regardless. But I thought it was beautiful because even though it wasn't like every moment was just seamless and wonderful, like the dogs were driving me insane half the time too, because they want to jump and run when, like, Gerby wants to try and jump forward when she's got this face harness on. So she jumps and then her face is yanked back, you know, like she can't. And I'm like, I'm not yanking her, I'm just holding the leash. But she jumps and her face doesn't go with her, right? It's kind of funny and kind of sad. Chunk, he will constantly stop walking just as we're going along and then try to pry his face harness off with his hands. And I have to grab him by the scruff of the neck and say, stop. You know, he'll stop. And he's like, okay, let's keep going. So probably every like couple minutes I had to stop and do that with him, because he was just junk. So we're trying to train these kids to chill out, relax, and just enjoy a good walk in the woods. Gita's another creature. She walks like not in a straight line. She's serpentine constantly, like weaving all over the place. So yeah, exactly. Blue sky, right? Yeah, Kiki, that's probably not a bad plan. Well, it wasn't. She wasn't attacked or anything like that, though. It was just a not good memory. She was helping out with some things, yeah, I'll probably talk to her before I share any of that, if I ever share any of that. But I started to think, yeah, I'll talk about this. But I thought, no, I probably should talk to her before I go into detail or anything about that. So let's just say it was not so great memories that are connected with having been in the woods, but nothing like being attacked or anything like that. So let's see here. So yeah, the dogs were being unique and they were stressing us a little bit, but eventually they chilled out more and we were able to walk. And we finally got to this bench to look at this overlook. And we were having moments of frustration and upset. I was trying to push for us to go further than she was expecting us to go as well. So there were moments of angst or frustration throughout the whole time. It wasn't always just like buttercups and roses and wonderfulness at every moment. But it was still beautiful, right? It wasn't, oh, I can. Beautiful lady. There's beautiful lady. She popped in. Well, that's kind of you to say. I wasn't sure whether you were watching today or not, if you were busy, but thanks for mentioning. All right. I will just briefly, share a little bit. I guess there was a young man, who had been at a party or something, back up north where she used to live and, where my beautiful lady used to live. And he was going to walk home from the party one night and he was fairly drunk. It was winter time frame. And I encouraged us to go further. I didn't physically push it. Yeah, this kid went missing and he was gone for a couple days. And so she volunteered as part of the group to go look for him. And they'd been looking for several hours. She ended up being the one who found him and he was gone and he died of hypothermia. And it was an unpleasant thing for her to see. So, yeah, that's a negative memory, even what's it been, 4 years now, almost 5. It's still not a pleasant thing on her mind. Or was that was in early 2013. Yeah, he was a young guy. He was pretty young. And so that was a difficult experience. I remember her calling me that day. I had the kids over at my house. But she was calling. She was pretty upset. And then the police had to, take her statement afterward and all that kind of stuff. And then they were even asking her questions a little bit at one point, like, so how did you find him? And none of us did, and that was just like, oh, like, wait a minute, what the fudge is going on here? I wasn't expecting that kind of questioning to go on. But, no, it's just that, they're just covering their bases and it was not a pleasant experience in the least, but she did a good service. She did a wonderful thing and was able to help that family have some peace, But yeah, she's an awesome lady. she's taken on a lot of things in life that are pretty awesome. And that's beautiful to me. That's a beautiful thing, because she's dealt with difficulty, but she continues to work and move beyond it. We had a little talk, I guess afterward. When she shared with me toward the end of it, she was like, I didn't want to mention anything, that I was feeling that way, because I didn't even think about it at that point. And we've gone on walks in woods plenty of times before, but it was starting to get, I guess once it started to get darker, once the sun started to go down a little bit more, that's when it was feeling a little bit more like that for her. Like, we go in the daytime, it's not nearly the same. Or if we go in the springtime, when there's not dead leaves all over the place, then it probably doesn't have the same effect. But every now and then that can get stirred up. And so she shared that with me at the end of the walk. Like, I didn't want to mention it during. I wanted us to be able to enjoy. And I could tell she was kind of tense about some things. At first I thought, well, maybe I was encouraging us to go further than she was planning, and that was uncomfortable. And that probably played into it. But afterward, she talked to me about things a little bit, and I wanted to ask questions and think, so when those thoughts come, like how does the process go in your mind when that comes up? And my desire, as she was, sharing some of those things with me, was to see if I could help brainstorm with her on strategies to take away the power of the negative aspects of those thoughts. Like, that those things happen, and they weren't good, they weren't fun. And I'm not diminishing it in the least, but she's okay. She survived through it. She helped somebody else by what she did, by taking that suffering on herself, and good came from that. And she knows she can handle it now. She's been through it. She knows that she can psychologically and physiologically handle dealing with things like that. It's not fun. It's not difficult. It's not like you want to go and do it, but she's capable. So the whole time between us and the dogs, even with all the tripping over and all the, at one point I even was yelling at Chunk for stopping and almost knocking. No, we were trying to go downhill down this winding section of hill in part of the park. And, I think, Gita was trying to run ahead, and I had to yell at her. I think Chunk wanted to do it too, jump over some log or something before I was ready and make me slip on mud. Thankfully I didn't lose it, but, yeah, I was yelling at Chuck. And then later, Gita decided to run up ahead too when we were close to the edge of this big ravine. And it was pissing Dawn off too. She yelled we were joking about it, the people that lived in that wealthy house across the ravine, they were, I think, out in their backyard having a fire or something on their back deck. And they probably could hear it. It's like, they're probably thinking somebody's pissed. But all of that together, there were so many different moments that compiled together. It wasn't just, every moment was just effortless. No, it was so many different emotions compiled together in that whole experience that it was beautiful. It was a wonderful time. I was so grateful to share that with her, because we haven't done anything like that for a while. So yeah, it was neat. But I think it would have been less beautiful if maybe I'd been too afraid to ask her questions about that, or if I'd said, I don't want to go here because the dogs are pissing me off, or I don't want to. If she had said, oh, let's forget it, let's not even go because of the things she was feeling at that time. If we'd just gone, there's a park that's much closer to our house that has a walking path we could have done. And it's just like, we'd walk around this 0.4 of a mile track a few times, that would have been far less invigorating. But this trail had terrain up and down. It was amazing different things to see in the woods there. The dogs loved the heck out of it, that's for sure. Thanks so much, Mom and Dad, that you brought us. We're so happy. All of those different things together, it took efforts on both our parts to be willing to engage in, but it was beautiful. Yeah. I'm grateful for that kind of stuff. I really am. That was probably my most favorite Thanksgiving in quite a long time. Just spending my day with my lady. Because she's a beautiful lady and I always enjoy spending time with her. And our puppies. Puppy's my behind. Gigantic. Even Gerby. Oh my goodness. 40 pounds of force. I wish I'd taken a video clip of her trying to leap forward with that harness still on her face. Still funny. Yeah. Yeah. Holidays are often way too busy, let me tell you. Happy doggies. That's right. Darn right. Well, Bears, it's been about an hour. Longer than I was planning. I should give Dom some time to stream. He could still do it. It's only 10:30. I'm glad everybody stopped in here. I'm glad beautiful Lady Bear popped in and gave me the go-ahead to share that, because she's pretty awesome, and I like bragging on her. I do. She did good stuff. And she's had to suffer because of it. She married me, and I was all kinds of in debt when she married me. But she was willing to do it, and we're better off now than we were back then. And we're continuing to get better off. We're continuing to be in better and better places. We have 2 paid off cars. That's amazing. And they're old as fudge cars. But yeah, they work. Get us from A to B still, right? And that's that much less that we had than what we had. We've still got some other things to work through, but we're working through it. She's been reading the Dave Ramsey stuff, I suggested to her. And I wasn't really doing it well. I don't do that well on my own. I need help with things like that take organizational skills and willpower. But that's why I married her, because she's awesome. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. I'm glad I could do the show today. I'm glad I could get in here and get back to talking with Bears. So how about we get to some music next week? Thursday and Friday next week, I'm going to be working at the base again. So I'm going to be a little busy those days, but I hate saying, yeah, maybe I'll get a stream or a show or something, because I never really have. I did that one, and that one impromptu one on my drive home. That was probably, I don't know if that was the best time to do that. Or if I did, I'd have to do it where I made sure that the camera was positioned where the screen wasn't facing me and I couldn't chat with you guys. But then it's not as fun. It was just that was a busy night anyway. But yeah, I love you guys. I'm glad you could come and enjoy. Your latest clip in 30 minutes. Okay, Kodiak. Cracking me up there, man. He's using the principal sex sells. That's what's happening right there. I love you guys. And I will say to you, until next time, engage your mind, your body, and your heart. And I hope that you seek always to serve that ultimate purpose, because it's beautiful to do that. Peace to you, Bears. Love you guys. don't forget it. Peace, Bears.